Good afternoon and welcome to the latest episode of the Married with Children ladies of Married with Children ladies of Married with Children documentary. Tonight's episode, we're delighted to be joined by the one and only Carrie Coleman, who appeared in season 7, episode 7, The Chicago Wine Party, which aired in November 1992, and then she also appeared in season 7, episode 20, Unlawful Entry, March 1993. In the first episode in season 7, she appeared as Muffy, a reporter. And then in the second episode, she appeared as an anchor woman. First of all, Carrie, before we talk about the episodes as such, I suppose Married with Children, it aired in the 80s and 90s. After its first season or two, it became a household name across the whole United States, Canada, and traveled the world as such. And were you one of those people who sat down whenever it came out of the USA of a Friday or Saturday night and watched what went on between Al Bundy and Peggy Bundy in the early seasons?
You know what? I watched the show every now and then, but I was not someone who watched it every week. No,
Mm.
but it was a great show.
And I suppose, Carrie, for you, I suppose doing an awful lot of acting back there in the early 90s for yourself, how did the opportunity come on your doorstep to get involved in Married with Children?
Well, interestingly enough, Married with Children was my one of my first jobs ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I had done a pilot for Fox, and then I'd done a couple of episodes of In Living Color, which was a sketch comedy show that was on the air back then too. And this was my first audition going out for a show that was on the air, like to do a guest star, an episodic on it. So it was my yeah, that was my first job. So it was really fun. And I remember going in and reading it, and the writers were there too with the casting director, and I read it through the first time, and I felt like, oh, that wasn't exactly right. And so I asked them, I said, is there anything else? And they said, in that second scene, I want you to remember that all the people are rioting right there. They're like coming
Mm.
up to you and stuff like that, and they're right there. And I was like, oh, okay, that would definitely make a difference. So I remember I read the script and then I improvised a little bit in it too, and yeah, then I got the job. So, and it was the
Yeah.
same character. I came back. It was credited as the anchor woman, but I was the news person, so it was the same character in both
The news
episodes.
person, Muffy, as well.
Yeah,
And I suppose the character sort of Muffy, in terms of that episode, it was about a beer tax, about
yeah,
the Bundys going to the polls and voting. Al felt outraged about this 2 cent increase, and usually being the Bundys, they got sort of defeated in the polls, but Al, not being one to let things lie, decided to rise up against it. And you were there on the scenes reporting, walking down the street, and there were some really sort of good moments where some lines where you pronounce where Al, I sell shoes and I'm stinking drunk. Was one of them, and there's other sort of scenes there where you're walking up, as you mentioned, you get surrounded by hoodlums, and they give you a sort of beer and you slug it, and then someone puts down a sort of a playboy in sort of front of you, and you look at it as well. And it was in terms of that sort of, then the Bundy see that episode then on the TV screens sort of afterwards. I suppose when you, in terms of acting that and being on the set of Married with Children, you mentioned it was one of your first gigs. Was it very much being on the cast around that, seeing the script, seeing the storylines? Was it hard to keep a straight face most of the times in terms of the humor and the jokes?
well, my stuff was not necessarily with them a lot. Like I don't in the
Mm.
begin. I'm trying to remember. Gosh, it was a long time ago. I think there was like one scene in the beginning of that episode where I was at the election polls, and then I'm
Mm.
just kind of doing my thing, and I think I pulled my skirt up. I think like I was trying to
Yes,
be
yes,
crazy.
yes.
Yeah, I think I
To get
remember
a
that.
better news rating because no one was
That's
watching
right.
Fox.
That's right. I had forgotten about that. Oh, it's good. Yeah, and then they all came in at the end of it, so I didn't really have any interaction with them. And then yeah, the last scene is when I'm like on the street and they're all riding and they're watching it on television. And by the way, the guy who came up and unfolded the centerfold was one of the creators of the show. That was Ron Levitt.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the other guys, I think there was a guy who put his arm around me or something. I think that was one of the writers. So they were all they were all the people that are writing the beer tax were the writers and the creators of the show. So yeah, that's pretty funny.
And I suppose
Across the nation for 6 hours, but it's now that not a single person in America has yet turned out to vote. Not only that, Bob, I understand that nobody's even watching our election coverage. So I've been told to do whatever it takes to get you to tune in. You won't see that on F Troop, folks. Now that I have your attention, be aware. If any people show up to vote today, the future of this country is in their hands.
Voters coming through, make way, make way. Voters coming through.
Carrie, in terms of Married with Children, you appeared on season 7, episode 7. You obviously left your mark because no sooner than 13 episodes later, you were back again. This time in unlawful sort of entry. So in terms of that performance, did obviously they kept you in mind, and were you surprised to get a call back so soon again?
I'm just trying to remember the details of it. I was happy to go back. Of course, you're happy to get a job, and I didn't have to audition, obviously, so they just called me because it was the same character. So yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It was kind of like those are those nice things when you get one episode and you don't expect it, and you get that call. It's always fun. I did a show kind of a little bit later called Seinfeld, and it was the same thing where I did one episode of it, and then it ended up being 2 and then 3, and so it was like those are always a pleasure to get those phone calls. So yeah.
I suppose, Carrie, in terms of the humour involved with Married with Children, and I suppose in terms of your family and relations and your loved ones, when they saw the episode on air and the sort of TV screens, and they look back and see their mother or their aunt or on the episode of Married with Children, does it sort of crack them up? Do you find them hard to believe? Because it's such a cult sort of classic show. Did they find it hard to believe that you appeared on Married with Children?
No, they think it's, I mean, it's funny. It's all, I mean, I joke about, that 90s hair, right? Everybody had big hair. It was like, there was just, I think mine was up for that one, but it was like big, even though it was up. So, yeah, it's funny to know that, my kids, I have 2 teenage girls, and that they look back at things and they see their mom doing like, silly things like that. And it's fun for them to see what I looked like back then, and, to see me doing that kind of stuff. So it's all fun. Yeah.
And I suppose in terms of Married with Children, I suppose it was geared towards maybe a 16 to 34 demographic. It was more adult jokes, a sort of adult theme. I suppose nearest comparison you can make to it in terms of it would be probably 2.5 Men that was out there recently in terms of comedy and humor, and in terms of that audience as well. So, but at the time, Married with Children, I suppose there were an awful lot of people saying, "Oh, it's sexist, it's too sort of raunchy for the 80s or 90s." And for you at the time, did you ever see that, or just saw it just what it was, lighthearted humor?
Well, at the time, look, I haven't watched it again recently, so I'm not sure how well it aged. How well it aged. A lot of those shows, I don't know. I mean, this was a riot, and being what just happened in America, I don't know how well that ages. At the time, it was just funny. It was silly, goofy, funny humor, and it was done well. It was never apologetic for what it was. It was, everybody was really smart who was involved in it, and all the actors were terrific actors. And yeah, it was just a fun show, and I think I remember that people were upset about it. I mean, I lifted my skirt on it, right, to get ratings. So there was that kind of humor for sure. But it was all it was all in good fun, I guess you'd say. So no, I never had a problem with it, but I guess some people did. I don't know.
And I suppose, Carrie, the second episode, Unlawful sort of entry, I suppose there was real sort of good humour and fun to this sort of episode as well, in terms of Al getting his house burglarised, and then the burglar sort of sue him in sort of court as well, and you're reporting on that sort of case as well. And in terms of Al the Defender Bundy, as you name him, Shoeman says no more. Sort of statements, sort of that in line. So in terms of that Muffy character, we saw her expansion. She had gone from a reporter to the main sort of news station sort of lady, and it was there was another lady on that show, a Spanish lady, Maronda Stelojaya, and it was sort of along the sort of similar lines that your character was developing.
Right. Yeah. What I remember about that was Amanda directed that one. She
Okay.
played what's her character? Marcy.
Marcy
Yeah,
Darcy.
she directed that one, and I just remember her being great fun to work with, and yeah, that she was so nice about welcoming me back and saying exactly what you said. So you got a promotion. You're behind the desk now. So that was kind of funny, and then I ended up, because Amanda became a director. She directed lots and lots and lots of stuff, and I worked with her, gosh, years and years and years later on a pilot. And I was really surprised that she remembered me from Married with Children. So that was kind of fun. And I'm trying to remember that second episode. There was also another newscaster who they had. I don't know that she had a bit, and I can't remember if it was left in or not. But she was an actual newscaster, and so and I don't remember if it was, like I said, I don't remember if it got cut out or not. But she and I had a great conversation on the set that I remember. And she was giving me pointers about being a real newscaster, and was telling me things that, oh no, you got to sit up straight, and you don't move your hands too much like I'm doing right now, and try to keep your face. She said, try to keep your face from moving. So I just remember she gave me this great advice. So that was kind of funny. Hopefully it did.
And in the biggest election-related story, people are being urged to eat at home or to avoid. Whatever you do, stay away from any restaurant that starts with Shay. Frenchmen, as if they had to be told, should stay at home. An angry mob led by a balding madman screaming, "I sell shoes, damn it, and I'm stinking drunk," has run amok. And they've turned the streets white with foam. Beer forever. Woo-hoo. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Anyway, the 2% beer tax that was overwhelmingly voted in is being reconsidered in a special midnight session of a cowering city council.
And I suppose in terms of comedy humor, and I suppose in terms of starting off, you mentioned it was sort of one of your first jobs in the entertainment industry in terms of TV series. Coming off the set of Married with Children, did it feel you had a great sense of buzz in terms of electricity, in terms of energy to say to you, yeah, this is what I want to do? Did you come off that set with really fond memories, good memories, and was it a real enjoyable experience for you?
Oh, it was a great experience. The whole cast was so warm and kind and encouraging. They knew it was my first job, and I remember all of them coming up to me and just saying, "Great job," and "Oh, you're very funny," and and all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely came out of that, and I was excited, and I felt I felt supported by that cast, and yeah, I was like, okay, this could be something, and yeah, so it was a good start, because that was the beginning of that was really the time of the sitcom. There were so many great sitcoms, and I just kind of started on a roll at that point and just kept doing them, and I would do pilots and then series, and then go back to guest star stuff and all that. So it was a very nice start to that whole process. Yeah.
And in terms of the cast of Married with Children, we had Ed O'Neill, David Faustino, Christina Applegate, Katie Segal. Did there ever come an opportunity later on in your career where you came across them or worked with them in terms of something else?
No, I never worked with any of them again. Amanda was the only one, like I said,
Okay.
and she was directing a show that I was doing, but none of the other ones, no.
No. And in terms of your sort of role, and I suppose in terms of within Married with Children and your costume and your dress, and in terms of the whole sort of wardrobe at the time, did you sort of feel when they told you about the scenes, did you see it as a bit of fun, as a bit of sort of flirtish fun, or was it being a bit daunting in being on national TV? And you mentioned that thing lifting up your sort of skirt a tiny bit, or that, were you sort of worried how that would come across or look? Because it was a different time back in the sort of 90s. Even something like that was seen as really raunchy compared to what we have now.
Yeah, I was never concerned about anything. I remember we shot, gosh, I hope I'm remembering this correctly, that we shot over in Culver City. There's a great lot over there that is the David O. Selznick lot, right? So it kind of looks like it did in Gone with the Wind when you drive up. I think I'm pretty sure that's where we shot. I could be wrong. And they had this beautiful wardrobe department. And when you do a TV show or anything like that, the wardrobe people are the coolest people to hang out with, right? Because they're the people that can put on a hat and make it look like it should be in a magazine, right? You know, it's like those people that you're like, how did you do that? But they pulled out. I had this suit that had big shoulder pads, right? Because it was it was the 90s, and but I had never had anything tailored to me, so I was shocked to find out that not only do you get to like wear these clothes, but then they tailor them to you. So that was my first experience having something like that happen. Like I said, it was my first job really. And so I was thrilled. I thought it was just the coolest thing ever that I had the skirt tailored and the suit jacket tailored. And that was the best. So I loved it.
And I suppose, Carrie, the last question before I let you go in terms of your time in Married with Children, and I suppose this is a question, probably a hard one. You'll probably have to rack your brains to think about your answer for this. Let's pretend there was a Married with Children encyclopedia, for every character that appeared in Married with Children throughout the 11 seasons. And let's say after each character, they left 2 sentences blank. And they went to everyone that portrayed that role within the TV series, and they came across your character Muffy, and they called you up, Carrie Coleman, and said, we're doing a Married with Children encyclopedia with 2 sentences blank under Muffy to describe her. You portrayed the role. What would you like those 2 sentences to read?
Let's see. I would say Muffy is a woman determined to go after the story no matter what is needed. She is fierce about finding the truth and not afraid to laugh at the outcome. There you go.
That came very easy to you, Carrie Coleman. Carrie Coleman, an absolute pleasure talking to you today, to relive your memories and your time back in Married with Children back in 1992 in November, and in March 1993 you starred in 2 episodes as Muffy, the Chicago Wine Party season 7 episode 7, which aired on November the 1st 1992, and in Unlawful Entry season 7 episode 20, which aired in March 1993. For me, Jim Cullen, a pleasure talking to the one and only Muffy of Married with Children. There was only one Muffy. There'll ever only be one Muffy, and no doubt she's still walking the streets of Chicago looking for a story there today. And I suppose with everything going on in the USA at the moment, there's plenty of stories for her.
Boy, that's for sure. That's for sure. Gosh, 1992. That's crazy. Well, thank you so much for
Carrie. Pleasure.
The show. Yeah.
Cheers. Take care.
Okay. Bye bye.